Hey everybody, Bryan again. Friday, October something or something, early afternoon, beautiful day, around 69 degrees, 70 degrees maybe. Had the day off, start a fall break at school, runs through Monday. Getting out here, I chose to come back to, this is called Buckner Park. I was here before. There was a little walk I did into the wooded area, little turnaround, came right back out again. Back here again, but I'm going to take the gravel path. It's really nothing more than a loop around the big open field. Sometimes I see people out here with their model airplanes, helicopters, all that good stuff, playing catch, football. Happened to be in the area. Met my wife for lunch somewhere. So she was working today. I thought I'd come and visit. Have some free time before I have to hit the road again. So I thought I'd make a little video. It's been a little while since last time. A lot has happened in the league since then. We've had two interesting games, if anything, between the Aces and the Mercury. Game 2, my goodness. A'ja Wilson, Jackie Young putting up some monster numbers that game. I think 60 points between the two of them. Phoenix really didn't have an answer, which is a little surprising. They've been playing in this strange role of letting the team get ahead and they storm back. But that game too, they just felt out of sorts. After watching them against Minnesota, they always had that weird thing where you could just see that they were building a strong offense to take it out on Minnesota, and it just never worked that game against the Aces. Asia's the MVP for a reason. It's not just scoring. Jackie Young, a great partnership on that team, rather understated throughout the year, but I was thinking back to that game when Minnesota just annihilated the Aces. A'ja was obviously not happy about that. Telling her team, look, we're not going to do this again. And what did? They went on a long undefeated streak. I think they've lost only one game since then. I'm not counting the playoffs in this particular talk, but for the regular season, I think they only lost one more game. So that was quite a catalyst. In a strange way, that beatdown may not have worked for Minnesota. It looked good on paper, that's for sure, beating someone by 53 points. Something preposterous like that. But that was just the jolt the Aces needed, because they're really too good to be a middling team in that mediocre middle. And I say that as lovingly as possible, mediocre middle. It's just kind of a term I use, or I've grown to use at least, to describe those teams in that big fat glut in the center of the league. Because you had Minnesota, far ahead of everybody else, and you had this group, and they were fighting to be number 2, fighting to be number 3. It's like they didn't want to make a push. But here we are, Aces and Mercury, not Lynx and Liberty, but there's always next year, right? And I'm actually planning ahead for next season. Tonight is the last game, possibly, for Phoenix and Las Vegas, so I'm thinking about what to do between now and the beginning of the 2026 season. Again, parentheses here, ... if there's a season. Some of the places I've gone to are really common haunts for me. Parks, the locations and such. I'm going to expand that out next season. I'm going to go to, there's some outlying parks in my area. Indiana just has parks all over the place. nature-based trails, and come see the bison, come see this, that, and the other. Farmland everywhere, of course. To my viewers in Iowa, Kansas, you know what I'm talking about. It's just all over the place. And I like to visit that. Do some walks around there, because a lot of it I haven't really visited in years. One particular park, I like it quite a bit. There's a massive fire tower, and I've always been a little skittish of heights. It's taken me a while to get over that, but we went back to this particular park, not this one here, but the one I'm talking about, and we went to the fire tower, and I had that initial, drop in the stomach sort of feel. It's like, do I really want to do this? It's like, you know what? It's a great day. Let's get up there and see what we can see. And I did it. A little nervous, but it went well. I think I might go back there next season, or depending on how I feel about the winter and early spring, maybe I'll make some walks out in the freezing cold. Certainly I can have something to talk about. Maybe something will go on in the league, or maybe I'll transition over to Unrivaled. Because if you've been paying attention to what I've been saying, I'm a Lynx fan. I have certain players I think very, very fondly of. But all the girls in general, I want them to be successful. I support them in their endeavors, and if that means, kicking it and Unrivaled, Athletes Unlimited, I'll watch. I want them to do well, and best of luck to them. But I plan on expanding this out a bit, going to some weird places, seeing some weird things. As much as I like the walk and talk idea, concept, just the rawness of it, no editing at all, I want to see more than trees and vast open areas and wandering folks and people on bikes. That'll be on the way. There was something about, going back to the WNBA games themselves, there was something I had noticed, and I wish I had written it down, and I cannot remember what it was. There was something odd about, I think, Game 2 between Aces and Mercury that I wanted to touch on. I don't remember what it was. It's going to be one of those things where I'll finish this 30, 35, 40-minute video or whatever. I'll close it out, start uploading it, and I'll be like, whoa, I now remember what it was. So goes me in 2025. Thanks, COVID. Thanks, growing older. Speaking of growing older, I work with kids. These are children around age 10, 11, whatever. That's my main focal point within my job. And it's funny how I'll look at my coworkers, and they all have kids of their own. They love talking about their kids and how cute they are, and relatively trivial information they talk up. Small talk. There is no shortage of small talk where I work. And it puts me on edge because I don't like small talk. I like a little deeper discussion on things. I can do hi and bye and everything, but really I want to, rather than ask someone, how you doing? How you doing? I'd rather, hear something of value. As if you notice, people tend to be guarded with, strong details of their life. But then the simple stuff, they're more than happy to share. And I get that. I can make sense of that. But I've gotten to an age where I'm just not too worried about sharing details that might put someone on edge or make them feel maybe a little awkward, or I hate saying uncomfortable because it sounds bad, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Because I think I take the Larry David approach of wanting to elevate small talk to at least medium talk. And I would not be surprised if I've said that before in a video. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is when I go to work, there's just not a lot of people there who know about me, about my history, about my interests in things. I'm actually very, I kind of keep to myself. I like talking to others. I like seeing what they're up to and listening to them and being a good ear for them to take advantage of, but I don't share a lot, mainly because they don't ask. They give me that blank, hey, how you doing? How was your weekend? How was your morning been? Those stock questions you hear in social situations all the time. But when I go to work, I give little clues as to what I get into. And as it pertains to the WNBA, my league of choice, my favorite league, and I know we are knee-deep in the NFL right now, going through the baseball playoffs. Go Blue Jays. Actually, they might be out. That's how little I pay attention to baseball. But anyways, my lanyard is a Minnesota Lynx lanyard. And I have one of those, there was a collaboration between the Peanuts universe. Think Charlie Brown, Lucy, Linus, all them. I have a Minnesota Lynx shirt that has Peppermint Patty on it. And there was a day at school where it was, wear your favorite TV character or movie character day, that sort of thing. So yeah, kids showing up looking like Strawberry Shortcake or that kooky boxy thing from Minecraft. Saw that stuff, Roblox, Bluey, whatever the hot kid focus thing is. But I wore that shirt. It's in Minnesota Lynx, kind of retro, and it has Peppermint Patty on it, throwing a basketball. I love this shirt. It was a gift. I had seen it online and someone got it for me. But no one asked me about it. No one said a word about it. In fact, no one's even said anything about my Lynx lanyard, and I've been wearing it all season. And I wonder about that, because you would think in a world that, and actually, I'm going to caveat this statement. In my area, I can throw a rock out the window and get it in close proximity to someone who's wearing Indiana Hoosiers gear, Purdue Boilermakers, Notre Dame, I almost said Notre Dame, but Notre Dame, and then of course Ohio State, because we're real close to the Ohio State line. So for someone to wear an unusual team like that, you would think it would at least garner a little bit of, oh, are they a basketball team? Oh, are they just a sports team of some sort? Because I'm not convinced people know the WNBA. I just don't see that influence. And I brought this up a number of episodes ago, but it just hasn't escaped my perception. And when we're thinking about what's going on in the league right now, at least socio-politically, the friction between Commissioner Engelbert and the players, specifically folks like Sophie Cunningham, Nafisa Collier, even Caitlin Clark, who has been very diplomatically aligned in dead center, I feel, which is a good move for her. That sort of, those sort of goings on in the league, that can pull attention. It can get people, regular folks who don't watch the league, to kind of raise up, to maybe give a little attention, I guess, to it. Gonna break through here, get back on the main path. The gravel path is pretty short. Still got a lot more steps to get here. There we go. So the news of the league is pretty much political right now. The talk between Nafisa and the commissioner apparently has gone nowhere. Nafisa has said no. Not sure if that's a good look, because she is a face of the league, which I have a comment about that I'm going to get into here in a moment. But she is a noteworthy person, player, entity, personality of the league, and promotes the league. She's been on the cover of a number of magazines at this point. I think she was just most recently on Slam magazine's cover. And I looked for that, by the way, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Barnes & Noble, a couple different places, never found it. Not sure what happened there. Same with the Stud Buds. Minnesota's own. Heidemann and Williams. Thought it'd be kind of cool to pick up, but didn't see them anywhere. But anyways, here's the little drop off into the non-moving green tinted creek down here. And I haven't forgotten what I said last time I was here. I will eventually get in the woods to kind of mull around, see how far it goes, but I'm going to wait till the winter time. I like woods walks in the winter. There's another place I have not gone to yet. I'm kind of saving for when the weather turns. As you can see now, we are in fall, of course. Everything is turning brown and red. Very beautiful. Leaves falling all over the place. Whoa. Anyways, back to searching for stuff, Lynx related or WNBA related. It just takes me back to the original question of what does it take to get this league to be more normalized, more mainstream. And I'm not sure if it ever really will be. And I think the reason is who they're really catering to. I mean, face the facts, it's sports. They're for males, men. That's their realm. As much as I enjoy women's sports, I gotta be real about it. It's a guy's thing. Don't know what to say about that other than that's just the reality of it. Mainstream sports is for the guys. And the ladies have tried really hard. They really have. Across all the sports. Soccer crossed over. Olympic time comes around. We seem to like gymnastics, figure skating, but I think it's just a byproduct of our national pride. Because what happens after the Olympics? Well, we all go away and we return to our normalcy. I think that's pretty normal. Nothing too wild about that. And I do the same thing. I get into these like tendencies or trends, habits where I'll get into, and I mentioned this before with hockey, I'll get into hockey and I'll watch whatever I can see. It doesn't matter what team it is, even though Toronto is my chosen team. And I enjoy it. I like the action. I like how a minute in hockey actually lasts a minute. I don't like basketball where, hey, there's a minute to go. 20 minutes later, it's like 10 seconds remaining because of all the fouls and the positioning and strategic clock stoppages. It's all part of the game. I'm not complaining. It's just funny how that works. But with women's sports, I'll get into it because it's on. And I want them to do well. I want them to cross over because after decades of being alive, I'm getting tired of seeing the same guys, same league, same sport all the time. I'd love for the WNBA to get a little more attention, but for the right reasons. Not because there's some drama going on or someone did something stupid, or there is, and I say this because this is what the talking heads are saying, because there's cat fighting between players or administrators. Their words, not mine. The fact that they will use the term cat fight shows how gender focused the railing actually is on that league, and really across the board. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I think the right chemistry between sport and viewer has to happen. I thought it got there, at least to the precipice of being something really, really monumental when Caitlyn came out. Because I mentioned this before, but I want to bring it up again because I didn't know about her until her final season with Iowa. I knew about Paige. For some reason, I knew all about Paige, but Caitlyn just escaped me. And I'm not sure why. I might examine that another time. But post Caitlyn, I would have thought that league would have taken off, but we know what happened. I mentioned before, and that's probably going to be the quote of my video here. I mentioned before, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, them, the big names there. The Olympic sort of feel, the familiar faces getting in the way. You got to get Diana another gold medal. Can't just let Caitlyn on the team because it would really push that league forward. Nope. They were really short-sighted in that regard. I think that was a bad idea, and I will stick by that. Because look at the league now. It's still struggling. Turning it around, I think that will always be a topic worth discussing. And I'll probably always bring it up in one capacity or another. But I think what happens after the playoffs are over with and things start to cool down a bit, we're going to see the effects of, I think that the actual failures that we've had here in the league. There's a little, if you remember before, there's a pavilion back here. I'm not going to go all the way down there. It's kind of a narrow path, and I tend to walk fast, so I don't want to get in anyone's way. So I'll just head back. It's all good. So, I had mentioned that Napheesa Collier is one of the faces of the league. And I kind of laughed because there's a thought I've been having for a while now. And I don't think I've explored it fully in one of these walks and talks. I want to bring it up now because I think it's worth discussing. I think it relates to the mainstreaming of professional women's sports. And I will say from the get-go that it's not a good thing, what I'm going to get into. What I'm going to get into is actually a negative, at least in my view. So as a guy watching women's sports, it's hard to avoid the idea that attractive players pull attention. It's really hard to, because I know there are guys out there who love certain players merely because of the way they look. Not because of how they play, not because of their basketball IQ, or because they enjoy watching them go up and down the court. They like them because they're, quote, hot. I get it. There are certain players I think are really, really attractive. I try not to focus on that because in one way or another, I feel it demeans those ladies. That's me personally. However, and this is the big on the other hand moment, when I look up the WNBA, do a quick Google search, news, hey, what's going on in the league that I've missed? And I am inundated and battered with photos of the ladies walking through the tunnels in their fits, their stylish, fashionable clothing. They're being treated like they're on a runway. I do feel like I have a little more room to say, hey, I think fill in the blank is really attractive. I think she's a lovely, lovely lady. And not feel bad for it. In my view, it's a door-opening experiment. If they're going to be happy with getting themselves photographed in their fashionable clothes before a game and send it out in their social media, or be okay with it from, let's say, external media sources who might be in the hallways, then I think it's okay for someone like myself to say, you know what, that player, super beautiful. And I think I have special right here because I actually watch the games. I actually watch them play. I've actually already formed an opinion of the players as players. It's not like I'm just sitting around caring nothing for the league and then just picking all the hot girls and liking them. Those days are gone. I'm trying to appreciate what we have and make the best of what, could be a difficult situation in the future, i.e., a league that no longer exists. And pausing the discussion, one of these days, I'm going to cross this to get to the other side, but not today. Maybe when it gets colder and really slick, I'll give it a shot. But anyways, what do you think? How do you feel about seeing the players you enjoy be put up like pinup girls on social media? It's not as if it is some covert action. It's not as if there's some secret cabal of people out there, some paparazzi getting secretive pictures and posting them on TMZ or something. The ladies know what's happening. They're complicit in this sort of behavior. Not that it's bad. However, you know how it is for females in pop culture. There's a different standard for them. Not being female, I don't know how they really look at guys. At least not in the sports realm. I think at one time, Beckham, his first name escapes me, married to my favorite Spice Girl. He was considered a heartthrob. All right, fine by me. I'm not offended by that. I'm no, beautiful beefcake myself, whatever you call a guy who's attractive. No idea. But someone else's popularity, partly based upon their physical attraction, doesn't offend me. But I see how it could for a female. In a league that is trying, in their best capacity, to be more relevant, I just find the idea of also combining that with this surface level, sort of stereotypical view that women need to be fashionable and with it in order to be successful. I just don't believe that. They are basketball players. Many of them are mothers. And I want to keep them within that realm as much as I can. Keep them as humanized as I can, because I think that's the fairest thing to do. I hope you remember my story about being about a mere 3 feet away from Nafisa and choosing not to say anything. I'm fond of her enough, and really any player would be treated the same way, to not impede on her space, because she's a human being. She just entertained me at a game that I enjoyed. Now's her time to cool down, to be mommy, to be a wife. But not everyone is like that. They feel it's an obligation for these players, these women, to act a certain way, to dress a certain way. And so goes the battle of the sexes, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if women themselves have this built-in mechanism that tells them, okay, I'm going out, I gotta dress a certain way, I gotta dress to the nines. Where is all of my designer clothing? Where's my big gaudy bag? Where are my big gaudy shoes? And my gaudier sunglasses? While indoors, by the way. I just don't care about that. I find beauty to be a completely separate entity to some growing fashionable branding, marketing, or advertising of someone's ability. And to be honest, I don't know if I like seeing them in street clothes, or even their more sophisticated clothing. If you remember the draft, the 2025 draft, Kiki Iriafen, lovely girl, she wore something that looked more akin to what you would wear to the Oscars. Very glamorous, very, in my way, in my view, a bit over the top. Just, it wasn't bad, it wasn't offensive, it wasn't like too terribly weird. It just felt a bit much. Sonia Citron, and if you remember, I'm a big fan of hers. Again, great kid. Dressed very, I would say, conservatively. Given the event, I would call what she had worn conservative. But then there's some that just seem like they're pantomiming or cosplaying as something that they may not be. Almost like it's not a legitimate form of expression, the way they wear their clothes and what they're wearing. And they're trying to just turn heads for the sake of turning heads. And I don't like thinking of them in that way. There's an entire industry called Hollywood that's more than happy to behave in such a manner, and I don't want to bring that into a league that I actually enjoy. Here's an interesting shot for you. Picnic table. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Brief respite from a rather tedious walk. And yeah, I'm back on the gravel. So when I see them all done up, I look at them a little differently. And it's not in the positive, it's more in the negative. I actually find them more attractive when they're in their gear. You know, I have tooted the horn of Bridget Carlson pretty much the entire time I've been doing these videos. I just find her to be a joy. I would want her on my team. There may be better players. There may be more reliable stuffing players out there. I just like her. I think she's cute as a button. Smiles for miles. The ponytail, the jersey, that sort of athletic type imagery, I just find that irresistible. But here's the nice thing about her. If you see her out in public, she just dresses like a regular person. Yeah, could be upper end stuff. Don't really know, because it's hard to tell. She wears the clothes don't wear her. I can't say that about everybody. It seems like some of them just are a walking billboard for Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Versace, blah, 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 blah. Those clothes wear the player. I don't like it. I've never liked that. I've never liked fashionistas. I've never liked the runway. I like reliable normalcy. Simple beauty. Bridget is completely that. You're very sharp too. I like her interviews. I like her commentary. I think she's funny, smart. She's got it all. But if you ask anybody out there, anybody else, I should say, hey, who's hot in the league? Their answers would probably be all over the place, because there are a lot of very attractive women in the league. But I don't feel they would think the way I do. And that might be at the heart of the problem. If you cross over that league into the mainstream, what are the men going to get into? That's just at least my perception. The guys have to get on board, and I just don't feel it. I think I'm a rarity. In many ways. One, I like the game. Yeah, the defense can be atrocious. The physical play needs a lot of work. Good gracious. There should be a separate camp just for defense. But I like the league as a concept and what they're trying to do. I watch the games as much as I possibly can. And I value those girls for what they bring to the table. And I'm open enough to say I will watch the WNBA far more than I will the NBA. Now right now I've got 30 plus years, probably 40 at this point, of NBA knowledge and exposure that I'm ready to purge, because I'm just done with that league and I've accepted the WNBA as my own. But it makes me special. Not tooting my horn, I'm just being real about that league, about being a guy watching the ladies play. And while I can say, honestly, there are plenty of women I think are just breathtaking, beautiful, I try not to make that the main focus, while other people might. And that's too bad. All right, I think I'm gonna end this little walk with a thought. By the next video, I think the 2025 season might be over, could be over. Aces seem to be a complete wrecking ball. Even game 3, Phoenix looked to make a push there at the end, but fell short. I wouldn't be surprised if tonight's game goes the same way. If so, a preemptive congratulations to Asia, Jackie, Chelsea, Jewel, and the whole crew. Becky Hammond, great coach, for a wonderful season. And a thanks to the Phoenix Mercury, giving a good shot, coming in. 4th seed, making a good push. I liked it. Alyssa Thomas, you're wonderful. Don't stop being who you are. Satu, Sabali, hope to see you soon back on the court. If you didn't hear a concussion protocol, it's a big loss for Phoenix, by the way. But if not, I will anxiously await game 5, if there is one. And until then, have a great weekend. Tell the people you love that you love them. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.